Hey everybody, welcome to a special edition of the BlueStar Nation podcast. I'm John Martin.
And I'm Dean Reverman.
We are joined today by Rob Risany, Intel's Director of Edge AI and Solution Aggregation. Rob, as always, we appreciate having you on the show. Welcome in.
Happy to be here. It's early spring, and I excited to be thinking about new things in the new year. So it's great to be back.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, we wanted to talk today something a little different than what we typically do on our podcast, which is usually aimed at our reseller partners and ISVs, folks that are out there actually selling products and solutions to end users. Yeah. But today we thought, hey, we should actually talk to the vendors.
Yes.
The partners that are coming into this ecosystem are hoping to sell their wares through distributors to resellers and integrators and eventually those end users. And kind of maybe challenge a little bit of some of the expectations and the assumptions that they might be making, some of which may not be as viable as you might think.
Yes.
So let's start there, Rob. Let's talk about some of those bad assumptions. Let's challenge a few of those about working in the channel. So, all right, let's say you're a new hardware manufacturer, a new software provider. You've signed your contract. You're in the channel now. You've got a distribution agreement. You're ready to go out. You know that you have the greatest, most superior, most perfect product that's ever been made. No one can possibly compete. Your work is done, right?
It sells itself.
The channel's going to take it from here. You're done. You sit back and just reap the rewards.
I just love I love the point of view because it so reflects my experience over a number of different times working with vendors, whether it was working for software companies, getting into the channel, or in the hardware business on the edge. Especially in the early days of IoT, for example, the assumption that, I've got this great, fanless computer, it can sit in a warehouse and it's, IP65 and, only takes XYZ voltage and things like this. And I'm like, it's going to sell itself. I've now onboarded. I just need to sit back and wait for the orders. In fact, I remember sitting in a boardroom where someone was basically doing a readout of their sales and success through the channel. And they were shocked that they didn't get any orders today. And the next day, and the next day. The bad assumption that we have is to presume, first of all, if you think your product is the best, you don't understand how the channel sells.
That's true.
That's probably the biggest problem right there, is that the channel will sell certainly commodity things that they're already used to selling. That's the old let's take orders business.
That's right.
Which works really well for consumables. Like if you're selling, you've already sold somebody a printer and they need more printer paper, and that's you're who they get their printer paper from. That's great. But when you're doing especially innovative technologies, it's a lot more than just the product. It's a lot more than the features. It is absolutely, your work is just beginning when you sign your contract with distribution. And I think the whole journey we have to take now is to enable the reseller to be able to do something and pivot our own engagement models to support those partners in the ways that they sell.
That's absolutely right. I like the way that you kind of establish this out there. There are some flawed assumptions out there, right?
Very much so.
You don't just sign up and the channel takes it from here, kind of a thing. Like it's just going to happen.
Sounds like a great gig if you can make that happen.
I mean, wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah.
And I'm like Rob, I can't even tell you how many conversations where there's unreasonable expectations on the side of the vendor where it's like, I've got this widget. I already know my product is superior than anything that's out there. So all you have to do is put it on your shelves and it's just going to start flying away. And I don't know of a single time where that's actually happened, where that actually was the reality, right? So you have to lean in, you have to know how the channel sells. And that's right, Rob. The channel sells differently than vendor reps sell and things like that. It's not, the channel sells a different way in the sense that it's selling confidence, it's selling repeatability, it's selling clear paths to revenue, right? These are key phrases phrases around enablement of how you can actually activate and get the channel to start working. But you're right. It is a flawed assumption to think, well, I just put it on the shelf and I'm going to start. Not only that, but they have unrealistic expectations of the amount of growth that's going to come out of the channal. Like, normally we see 3 to 5% growth, but out of the channel, we're expecting 40. It's like, well, how is that 40% growth going to happen?
Just overnight.
We gotta dig into it. So it's the sales motion, right, Rob? It's like you got to get into the sales motion, whereas the channel, that's going to reward vendors that do the work with partners, not at partners, right? So we get into like an ecosystem and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the important point here, fundamentally, this is the difference between business development and direct sales. Business development is working in the ecosystem to align two potentially not totally compatible business models. These are gears that have to be meshed, and just like, downshifting on the highway to third gear, if you don't have a really good handle on your manual transmission, boy, I'm dating myself, then, your ability to have a smooth transition into the channel is challenging.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's a couple things I think that become very apparent in that. The confusion when a vendor approaches a channel and, talks to them about their normal sales cycle. If I talk to you about the normal sales cycle for me as a vendor, I'm misunderstanding the approach that VARs have to take to be relevant in the ecosystem. You hit it. They're selling the services. They're selling repeatability. They're selling trusted advisor status. Your features and capabilities are an answer to a question. Their job is to work with the customer to define the question and have it align on something that they have on their line card. And that changes if you go into the channel thinking that way, it changes what it means to skill up your channel so that they can be skilled.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, we often talk to vendors about, hey, look, we can help you with this dealer channel, right? So it is exciting to think that you're going to go from maybe a handful of reps that you have, vendor reps, to now literally thousands of potential mini-me's out there running around selling your product. But, you're creating demand. You need to work with the partnership that is the ecosystem of the channel to create the demand, not just think that all you need to do is product availability, right? You have to show proof, not just features. If you think you're just going to sit out there and win the universe by spinning up features and stuff like that, that's not really how the channel works. It's more about, investing in proven outcomes. It's more of a solution sell than it is product availability and features. Yeah. Those are nice and all, but that's not really what's going to ring true in the channel.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, also there's a lot of inertia and there's a lot of familiarity that already exists in the channel.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're all creatures of habit. VARs are creatures of habit, and there's an expectation like, hey, I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. It's been working for me. The products that I typically order and provide for my customers, I'm used to them. I'm acclimated to them. I'm not sure that I need another mobile printer, mobile computer, another piece of digital signage. So there's a little bit of that you have to try to overcome and conquer as well, and understand that it might take some time. It's going to take some time to reach out to folks that have been potentially working with the same vendors for years, decades, potentially even, and expect that your product's suddenly going, even again, if you are certain your product's superior to what they're currently selling, to get in there. So it can be a little hard to unseat some of the establishment channel players, and to that, and also the whole goal is not necessarily also to try to unseat everybody. It's to figure out where your lane is and to figure out how you fit in, how you incorporate into those solutions. We've touched on the sales stuff here a little bit, so I kind of want to go a little further down that rabbit hole, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what your sales team as a vendor is going to be able to do once they get into this channel, what the expectations are, whether it's being hands-off or whether it's still being very involved, or, and I know this does happen from time to time, there's still a perception sometimes that it's easy for a manufacturer, vendor, or whatever to go in and start cherry-picking some deals out of the channel and maybe take them on themselves or take a more active role in it. And got to tell
That's a
you,
no-no.
that's not going to fly with resellers and members of this channel.
Hard lessons to learn
if
there.
you're doing that, you're very likely creating some enemies that definitely aren't going to want to be involved with you. So Rob, speak to that a little bit more. What's happening there with the expectations around the sales team and how they get involved?
Sure, absolutely. And I think it starts with understanding the profile. We use the term the channel, or we say distribution is going to give us access to resellers. It's not like it's some homogeneous blob. It's not just a company. That's a rep organization. We are looking at a whole host of different businesses. And so the first thing you've got to do, especially as it applies to your sales model, is be specific about the kind of sellers and sales engagement you need from your channel reseller partner. You know, come to BlueStar and say, look, I'm going after this particular segment. This is the types of ideal customers that I want to be selling to. These are my objectives of what I'm trying to do. And then based on that, in your conversation with your distributor advisor, what they can do is advise you the kind of selling support that should be expected when we select those kinds of partners. And really the key is, it's not that one size fits all in terms of your sales model. There are some absolutely do's and don'ts, like don't cherry pick large deals out of the business. Do set expectations up front. Don't randomly change the margin table halfway through the quarter. Do be very clear in communicating how you're going to support your channel in pre-sales, marketing, and closing. It's all about that overt, honest, transparent communication that a P&L leader can then count on. The biggest challenge, I think the biggest mistake that people make is to presume that they can just take their best direct salesperson and throw them into the channel and they'll be successful. That's a tough one. It can work if there is some oversight from a channel leader or a channel coach from the distributor, an ambassador, however that might work. But what you've really got to make sure you're doing is defining a sales model with the channel and being prescriptive about how your account development, your account manager types are going to work, and how your pre-sales and post-sales are going to work. I mean, we have some large, our most successful vendors inside of the BlueStar ecosystem. Boy, I mean, I've been on the podcast with some of these folks, and they know how to speak to the channel. They know how to speak to the channel's leadership, and they know how to speak to the channel's customer, and they know how to change their dialogue around we're successful because of our relationship with this reseller. Being a vendor means being humble in the context of the channel, because that's where that alliance relationship is obvious in front of the customer. If you've got a gunslinging vendor sales rep who's out there slinging the features and benefits, and immediately, shows up with the contract on the first call and tries to here, sign my paper, that makes you look like your gears aren't meshed. So I would encourage, and I think that's part of the reason for us doing this special edition podcast. It's put your sellers through a training class with BlueStar so they know what it means to talk to the channel. And that's I think that's really the keys to success, in this.
Man, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I think you've hit the nail on the head and really, really well stated. When you think about that misconception, typically in a direct sales model, you're right. And I would venture to say, Rob, it probably happens very, very infrequently that a true direct sales leader is able then to take up a position in being a leader in channel sales, because the two don't mesh. Right. A true sales leader is out there. That's an alpha type person. They're doing the demos. They got the contract in their hand, they're after the hunt, and they're incentivized and they're commissioned and they're compensated to do that effectively. Right. That is completely different than when you need a channel sales model where the partner is the one who wins, not the vendor rep, right? So it's not the vendor rep coming back and pounding their chest like a gorilla saying, hey, I won this deal. You need to enable the partner to win. And it's the humility. I'm glad you threw that word on the table, because it is. It's a humbling experience for a channel rep to enable a partner to go out there and do that. That's what the sales team has to do. So a vendor sales team has to really be converted into one that has reinforcing positions, right? Like one that can reinforce the language, that can bring deals to the partner, right? Not just ask them for it, not just go out there and say, hey, what are you doing for us? What are you doing for us? They got to be the ones that are bringing deals to them, and they need to stay involved with them, not just chalk up the wins and say, on to the next one. It's like an eternal relationship. Those are the vendors that have the biggest wins, I think, in the channel. So really, really well said, Rob.
Yeah, and Dean, to extend on that, the element that we've got to also consider is when you enter the channel, realize that what you also should be doing is you don't show up with your hand out. You show up with a waiter's towel over your arm, and you're asking, how may I serve? Nice. That's how you engage with the channel. I would suggest, and I've coached many a software vendor to do this, especially startups in emerging tech. You want to engage with the channel? Show up with 3 deals you could take down yourself.
That's brilliant, right?
Show up with some deals that you can take down yourself. Say you'll give them the margin on those deals they didn't do anything for, as long as they put it into front end marketing.
Yep.
That's how you. I mean, in the end, direct sales is coin operated. P&L leaders don't think that way. They think about business growth. They think about, is this sustainable? Deals aren't sustainable. A revenue plan is sustainable. And that's what vendors have to bring to the channel. A
lot of vendors walk in and think, well, okay, I get it. I got to do the channel. I got to enable this, right? And so if I do one training, now I've enabled them. If I create a partner portal, now, we've given them stuff to go to. And if I do one QBR with them, now they're aligned strategically with us, and they think, well, I've done my job, right? We've tried it. No, it's a continuing effort in order to do that. And I love the humility of bringing deals to the channel. And I know perhaps we'll get into this, but that's really kind of the genesis around Demand Lab and stuff like that. I mean, we invest in going out and finding deals for partners, because it's the strength of the channel, right? It's the partnerships that you align with and finding business activities. It's all growth oriented. It's not a me. It's an us kind of mentality, and going out and winning. Yeah,
absolutely. And I appreciate also that, we kind of hinted at this a little bit, this idea that your typical, aggressive sales rep, they're going to be great at the speeds and feeds. They're going to be great at knowing all the specs. They're going to be great at talking.
And they have their place.
They're going to know the operating systems. But I've seen some of those people try to communicate with our customers, the VARs and the resellers and the integrators, and you can tell that they start glazing over after a while, being like, all right, I can read a spec sheet. I can figure all this stuff out for myself. Tell me how this is going to help me with my revenue. Tell me how this is going to help me grow. Tell me how this is going to help me get sticky with my customers. And to that end, I think our channel model as a whole, where we've kind of ended up, over the years, and I think where, the niche that we found ourselves in, and the partnership that we have with Intel and BlueStar and all of our customers, is this idea of selling solutions, not just the products. The products are fine, but at the end of the day, usually an end customer is trying to solve a problem of some sort. Whether it is, I'm trying to figure out self-checkout, I'm trying to make inventory management easier, whatever those problems are, they're trying to solve an issue and a problem. And that doesn't happen with a single product. It might be a product might be part of it, but it could be several products. It could be software. It could be services. All these things are coming together into a solution. So from that perspective, Rob, what does that mean to a vendor? What should they be thinking about in their business to help them succeed and have a chance to grow to grow themselves, to build trust, and to understand that solutions are really what's driving all of us right now?
So let's start from the perspective of who's in control of the buying process. The buying process is in control by the end customer. The key to winning, the key to the channel winning, so if I'm a reseller, the key is for me to be listening to that particular customer, aligning on what their outcomes are, and then setting the spec of the required capabilities to meet that outcome. So if I'm talking to a quick serve restaurant and they're very concerned about, long wait times, or they're very concerned about running out of food at lunchtime, or they've got a performance issue in their drive-through. They're not getting their new products off the shelf as much as they want. I just laundry listed a bunch of outcomes that have nothing to do with capabilities.
Right.
The reseller has to show up and be really good at understanding and listening for the cues around those outcomes, and be then able to connect it to the available capabilities in their portfolio. Vendors that are successful in the channel understand their role in that. They have to understand that their job is not to go sell their product in the channel. Their job is to provide capabilities that will attach to specific outcomes. Because guess what? You don't do everything.
Yep.
You fit in the context of a broader problem, like I need to improve back of house performance in a quick serve restaurant. Well, we know in the BlueStar environment, I'm going to need machine vision. I'm going to need digital displays. I'm going to need printers that are printing out the menu capabilities. I'm probably going to need, RFID scanners to go after what stuff is coming in from the back of the house. I need robots at the front of house to make sure stuff is delivered. The amount of stuff that we can put into the customer's vision is the job of the channel. Our job as a vendor is to align a discrete set of outcomes that my capabilities will support. And that's the key. The key to being successful in this market is to help the reseller set the spec and understand your role in the broader picture. If you can do that, now you're a trusted advisor, because they're going to trust that you're going to show up with humility and say, yeah, you know what? I'm not an RFID vendor, but that's probably something you should be considering over time. Now, you as a vendor can work with your channel to create a sales cycle that biases the customer's selection process to buy your stuff first. That's good selling. Okay, that's just good selling. There's lots of alternatives to deal with things. But you as a vendor have to start with how you fit in the topology of the channel's customer. You can do that. You will find that your technical enablement and all those things get pulled from the channel. You don't have to push it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true. I mean, partners think differently, right? They think outcomes. I think you've done a great job of explaining outcomes rather than SKUs. They're not thinking like product oriented, right? Customer problems. That's what they're thinking about. They're not thinking about feature sets and stuff like that. They want repeatable type solutions, not just one-off deals that are going to be out there. Rob, let's riff on this too. Do you think it's important for everyone to understand how everyone else makes money in the channel? Right? Like you got to understand partner margins and what the expectations is and how the services can, attach to these opportunities that he was just talking about. How little old distributors add value to the play and where those incentives align, right? And so you need to understand that if you're going into the market and the channel compressing partner margins and not really and figuring out you have complicated quoting mechanisms that's really kind of hard to sell and stuff like that, you're not going to be successful. It's just, partners or a solution, VARs and stuff like that will just deprioritize whatever you're trying to bring into the world because it's not meshing into the ecosystem, right? Money talks, right, Rob?
Well, money talks. And I think the other thing is this also aligns to that whole easy to do business with. Yeah, right. You don't need a 17-layer program with 17 statuses. I mean, look, Intel invented the channel program back in the 80s. Yeah, we were the ones that invented all these things. And guess what? We've gotten to the point now where we have two levels of partners. We have partners, and we have like our prestige partners. BlueStar happens to be a prestige partner, and that's because we have to streamline the way we engage with the channel. Streamline the way we deal with margins, streamline our program engagement models. Now, keep it simple, stupid. I think the other thing you hit on, though, is linking back to that, Focus on your partner's success. Understand where they make money.
Yeah.
Your head of business development that's calling on the channel and signing up resellers through the BlueStar ecosystem needs to be very aware of that partner's priorities.
Yeah.
What's the SWOT analysis for that partner? What are they going on? If you can do that, I think that's one of the reasons that, we spend so much time at the BlueStar leadership summits. Is it helps us be aware of what the resellers' leadership is thinking about. If you have an awareness of what that is, it's amazing then how you can tune how you're approaching those players. So I think, Dean, you can't also squeeze the balloon. You take 3 points off this deal today, you might have taken 6 points off your gross revenue for the year.
Yeah, right, exactly. And when you think about solution selling, let's riff on this one too, Rob. Being in constant communication with the channel, meaning your vendor, as a vendor, you need to change your disposition and enable your product teams to have conversations with the channel because, and I'll use Intel as a great example, you want to be in the design in. And as Rob said, you want to set the spec. Well, there's no better way to set the spec than to be upstream, developing that, having a partner network that can influence what the spec's going to be at the end of the road. So you got to bring these partners into the roadmap conversation. You can't just develop roadmaps off in a desert somewhere because once you launch them, they're going to see that there's going to be misaligned. Go ahead, Rob. You got a comment here?
Yeah, I mean, you hit an important element here. When you join the channel, you're making a commitment not just for sales and marketing. You're making a statement about also your product roadmap. Sometimes the product you think you're building is not actually the right fit for the channel. And that might be something very tangible, like, hey, you put it in the wrong box and therefore I can't stick it on my shelf, or it doesn't deliver well, or it doesn't have the right, ability to plug into the standard adapters that I use. That's a product definition thing, but it's also aligned to, how is that product positioned? How is that product bundled with other things? There's no question that the most successful BlueStar Intel vendors, the most successful ones, have a awareness of where they fit in the ecosystem and build those relationships so that they can be positioned appropriately. It's like, okay, great. I can sell a little computer that sits on the back of a TV, but if I partner with BlueStar and have it aligned with an actual TV, packaged up with software that can generate display ads, and then have it, pre-kitted with specific laminated instructions in an in-a-box solution, that's a totally different value prop to the channel.
Yep.
Increases speed of deployment. The whole way that this stuff gets evaluated is different. So I think there's a commitment that's going into this where it's not let's just put it on the shelf, I'll ship you 1,000 units. I mean, we know vendors that have tried that. And guess what? Those units are still sitting on the shelf.
Yep. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I'll just lastly add here. I mean, obviously, you got to be thinking within your company that you have a partnership mentality, and I think the important part of that also is a willingness to work with the friendly competition, like have a friendly attitude towards your potential competitors. Because again, a good solution could include something you make and something that someone else that you consider your competitor is making.
For sure.
And maybe you both sell those things, but the end user's the king. What they need, what solves a problem for them is what really matters to us. It's what matters to a reseller when they're going out there. So they're not going to tell someone, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sell you that because that's not my preferred vendor or because those two don't work too well together. If it's going to work together, it's going to work together. And that's all the end user actually cares about. So I think having that mentality also is important. Don't come in assuming your job is to stamp out and crush the competition. I couldn't agree more. I've
seen deals go away where they were too aligned with their product portfolio, not willing to embrace others. And, somebody else wins the deal. Yeah. Yeah.
So to that end.
Now,
sorry, go ahead, Rob.
Let me jump in if I could, John, because this links to the differentiation problem. In the end, the reason price pressure happens in the ecosystem is naturally because the end user isn't understanding the value of whatever is being delivered, and so therefore we're pushing the price down. So every vendor needs to realize that the classic engagement of price exceptions and, special pricing for specific contexts or time boxing, that's a reality. Vendors have to build that into their process and have an understanding and communication of how that's going to work. Get that tightly aligned with BlueStar.
Yep. The
important point, though, is if you don't help your channel differentiate itself in the solution it provides, it's the easiest thing for them to do is say, well, we have to cut the price.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say at least 50% of the time when you're under price pressure, it's because your value proposition, not your product, your value proposition is not differentiated in the eyes of the end customer.
That's it.
Which means it's probably not been equipped into the channel adequately for them to position it as a high value offering.
Yep. Bingo. Absolutely.
Well, we typically wrap up our podcast episodes with a segment we call VAR value, which is kind of like a takeaway and a wrap up and just, some suggestions for how a VAR can use what we've talked about to help them grow their business. Well, since obviously we're talking to the vendors today, we're going to do a little vendor value instead. And in particular, I thought we should talk about how BlueStar Intel is out there helping to do this, what our partnership is about, what we bring to bear for hardware and software vendors to help them enter, to help them engage with, to help them win within the reseller channel. Dean, you want to start here and talk maybe a little about the BlueStar side of things, how we're helping out?
Well, so we have many things, and we have many things that are actually joined at the hip. So I'm going to start with our Tech Connect program, which is a way of enabling the software development companies to channel access, right? A path into the channel. And it is a robust path. It includes everything from helping you with what we would call a dealer network. It is also aligning you with manufacturers. I'll come back to that in just a second. We have demand gen. We have enable you with engaging thought leadership through events and things of that nature. So we really have come up with a comprehensive program that is really designed to help the software manufacturer get out there. Now, ways in which Intel has helped that. Well, one of the ways is we do a Tech Connect Live, as you know, every year at VARTech. Well, this is a way that Intel sponsors, by the way, and it's wonderful that they did because they've leaned into this whole ecosystem of enabling resellers.
Definitely.
Tech Connect Live is in front of the stage, in front of 1,800 people, where we allow budding software vendors to get up and to really promote their wares in a very fast manner so that they can get channel engagement, right? If we're going to build solutions, we have to get them in front of people so that we can realize what solutions are actually out there and how can we enable that. So Intel's been a great partner there. One of the things that I mentioned is demand generation. And what we've been doing in conjunction with Intel is helping these solution providers. Now you get the vendor, you get the software manufacturer, and sometimes the reseller bundled together to do outcome-based, right? So solutions, and then go to the market and do demand generation, try to pull that demand back through, hand it off to those partners so they can go out and win the deal. So we call it Demand Lab marketing. It's a unique feature that we have, but really, really a strong one that the vendor community needs to, if you're a new vendor coming in here and we're blessed to have you at BlueStar, you need to learn about the Demand Lab so that we can help enable a business to occur.
And more importantly, you need to invest in it to some extent.
That's right.
Too. Like
it takes dollars, right?
I think that's sometimes there's again that misconception is like, well, I'm here, I'm part of the channel now. You're distributing my products.
Going back to that, right? Yeah,
we're done. But a little bit of investment goes a long way. And this isn't just like us just trying to get some money out of you.
No,
because a lot of that investment that you do, if it's marketing funds or whatever it is, that's pass through.
It goes right out the door.
That is us taking it and saying like, all right, you gave us this, we're going to go now and use our marketing expertise. And I think we have a very well organized and well-oiled machine.
I'll say it, the best in the channel marketing.
I didn't want to toot my own horn on that because I work on that side of things. But yes, I think we do a great job with marketing. So we take those funds and we turn it into something that's useful.
That's right.
We understand what it takes to go out there and attract, end user interest and understand, who they are. And to your point, really pitching the outcomes part of things, not just, it's easy to go out there and throw an ad up on Google or LinkedIn that just shows off a product or shows off a software. It's a little bit more nuanced that goes into putting together something that explains, hey, we understand you, end user, have a problem that's probably happening in your business. Here's what that problem is doing to your business. Here's the challenges it's creating. Here's how that can be solved with technology. Oh, and by the way, we got some great partners to help you out there.
100%.
That is a story that typically leads to something useful and good for those end users and gives them a reason to say, all right, I'm going to give you my contact info. I'm going to give you a lead, essentially, that we then pass on to those partners and help them get where they need to be. So
that's right.
Make that investment. I think that will be beneficial for you, believe it or not, that it will help you ingrain yourself in the channel. It'll help drive those partnerships. And at the end of the day, hopefully get you some leads that are tangible.
Well, I'm going to go back to what Rob said, because what he gave everybody a pro tip hack into the channel, where if you're a vendor and you walk into the channel with deals that you can hand off to partners and make them the winner, that's how you do it. Well, Demand Lab just gave you a path to do that. Exactly. Now we have the marketing mechanism where you can invest to the benefit of the partners that are involved in it. And what are they going to turn down leads and turn down opportunities?
I would hope not.
But are they going to be more? Are they going to like you more? Are they going to understand that you're more in kind of in the same cart as they are about trying to develop business? Absolutely they are. So anyway.
Rob, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah.
So you hit on obviously a number of threads there. I think the reason we're partnered with BlueStar, again, I think you've said it really, really well. You're a marketing machine with a distribution problem. In the end, some of the most world-class engagement with developing end user demand that I've seen in the channel. For example, I partnered with a number of Intel-enabled vendors on end user surveys, going after targeted segments, what's going on with the acquisition of particular types of technologies for particular segments. The insights that have come out of that have really then opened doors for channel partners of sponsoring vendors to go after real dialogues with unique decision makers. It's not just about the purchasing manager. It's about the manager of the healthcare facilities. It's about the warehouse operations management. The people that are doing things that really involve the edge technologies that BlueStar specializes in. So I definitely would compliment that. And Intel loves to work with vendors in that. The one thing that we do have a tendency to be understood as a thought leader of is we have to be a few years ahead of whatever's going on in the market. We have to be. I mean, there's a reason we started spending billions and billions of dollars to build a factory down the street from BlueStar.
Yeah, right.
We have to be that far ahead of the acquisition paths of these technologies. And that means we have unique perspectives of what's going on with end user adoption. The other key thing that I would say for vendors that are Intel enabled is lean in on our ability to give you street cred. Because as an Intel-enabled vendor, what we force on you from a quality standpoint. So the ability for you to leverage that notch in your belt, that as part of the Intel ecosystem, it puts us a step ahead. You're not just the cheap knockoff technology. There's an ability for you to insert those value props into the way you'd engage. Very tangibly, one of the things, building off of your Tech Connect observations there, Dean, we've had a lot of fun recently working with focused vendors on industry outcome focused solutions and positioning the specific results that are provided and then co-branding it. We're building up a new vendor engagement model inside of our own Intel Partner Alliance program so that all the biggies can start to see it. So yes, we want to go after the niche players, but guess what? WWT, Insight, CDW, they're listening to our marketing efforts that are coming out of what's coming from BlueStar. And that gives you also a lot of reach. So I would definitely be reaching in to the BlueStar environment and saying, where does my hardware align with this Tech Connect software community? Or if something's missing, Intel, can you help me find the right software partner that we can fold into a unique offering offered through the ecosystem? I think that's a great way to do it. Final thing I'll call out, let's not forget the fact that you have a challenge. Your challenge, vendor, is to enable the channel. You have to know how to go talk to these folks. If I'm a vendor leader right now getting into the channel, put your 6 program managers on a plane to Hebron, Kentucky, and we will sit down with your leaders and talk about what it means for you to have a successful channel program.
Yep.
That's what it means to be part of the Intel BlueStar ecosystem. We'll invest in your success. That's what our whole motion's about. But that means get on an airplane.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how we're going to help you set the spec. Besides, you're right in the heart of Kentucky. I'm sure we can have some fun too.
Yeah, we can go to Bourbon Country and see some horses running around a track, all that kind of good stuff.
We have plenty to do around
Plenty to do.
Exactly.
Good stuff, Rob.
Very much so. All right. Well, hey, that kind of wraps it up for us here. If I'm going to give a quick takeaways, reset your expectations.
Yes.
Change your sales mentality. Embrace the partnerships. Embrace solutions. Know your value propositions. Make some investments in the channel.
Yes.
And just talk to us. And hey, maybe while you're at it, check out the Blue Star Nation podcast. You can hear some
there you go.
insightful conversations with folks around the channel to
Shameless
understand
plug.
a little more about what's going on.
That's right.
Hey, thanks so much, Rob. Appreciate it having you there today. Don't hesitate to reach out to us and let us know how we can help you out there. We'll see you out there in Blue Star Nation.